In case you need proof that it snows in Tennessee. That's not dandruff, by the way. There you go. All right. That's not what the video is about. It's not about snow. It's not about dandruff. It's about this right here. Because we are here to collaborate. We are here to conversate. We are here to learn as part of the Brotherhood of the Hair Loss. Okay, so I made the video, Perfect Hairstyle for Norwood 3, which is the first video I made right after I got my hair cut over the weekend. And our good friend and barber friend, Maxwell Smart, had this to say, quote, "Great looking cut. It suits you well. I agree with the other brethren that you look younger too. Did you ask the person who cut your hair for a haircut to suit a Norwood 3, or how specific were your instructions?" End quote. So great question, relevant question. Here's the answer. I told the girl, I said, I want to leave the top longer. I'm experimenting with that as long as I still can, while I still have that option. And that was all I said to insinuate I'm a Norwood 3, that I'm, you know, my hairline isn't necessarily full potential. But all I said was, yeah, while I still have the option is ultimately what I said. She sort of smiled and to acknowledge, okay, I get where you're coming from, and got to work. And that's how we ended up here. So there's that question. But I think this leads to a bigger topic here that I want to address just in this brief video. And that is, it's almost like with Fight Club. First rule of Fight Club is not to talk about Fight Club. I think we've got a similar situation with hair loss. I've said many times before how here on my channel, it's a safe place to talk about hair loss. It's a safe place to acknowledge that we are psychologically dealing with our hair loss, and it's okay here. But in the real world, because this isn't the real world, my channel is not. But in the real world, you can't really talk about your hair loss because it would make you seem insecure, and then people might say, "Well, get over it. Everybody loses their hair," stuff like that. You know, it's not a snowflake in my eye just then. You can rewind that and pause it and watch it go in. But here on my channel, it's different because this is openly what we talk about without shame. And so what I did is I was thinking, well, when is it okay to talk about your hair loss outside of this channel, like in the real world? So basically, I think 3 quick steps for you to know if it's okay to talk about hair loss. So the first rule of when it's okay to talk about hair loss outside of this channel, the first rule is you can acknowledge your hair loss only after someone else brings it up. As in my case, when she was asking me how I wanted my hair brought up, cut, I told her I'm going out the top just to kind of see, you know, what I've got to work with while I still can. So she kind of initiated that conversation. Another, going completely negative on you, another example is if someone says, "Man, your hair's starting to thin out there in the back," you know, something like that. "Oh, man, your hairline's going up there, huh?" And then, so that leads us to number 2, owning it after it has been brought up. It's a matter of completely owning it and acknowledging it without shame. And then, which leads us to number 3, exaggerated at that point. When someone brings it up, you want to make sure that you show that you're confident in that. And, you know, like I kind of did, you know, while I still have the choice, you know, I'll probably be bald in the next 5 years, whatever, just kind of laughing it off. Because in owning it and in acknowledging it, you want to make sure that that person knows that you're secure in that. Because if you are going to have to talk about your hair loss, you want to show that it's not something you're insecure about, because you don't want someone having pity on you. You know, "Oh man, well, it happens to everybody." You don't want anyone having shame, you know, pity. I gotta make sure I don't get hit by a truck. You don't want anyone having pity on you based on your hair loss, or really on anything, right? But especially that. So no, we don't openly talk about hair loss. That's something that's, you know, a guy rule. You don't talk about it. You don't bring it up unless it's someone else brings it up first, or the conversation is already leading you to that, and it's in that situation. But obviously, you don't go around talking about it. Just like I made that cowboy hat video over the weekend. Now, granted, yeah, you can look pretty awesome wearing a cowboy hat, but you won't go around talking about, "Hey, look at my cowboy hat. Don't I look cool?" That's not cool to acknowledge it. You don't want to initiate the conversation with, you know, say you got a new leather jacket. "Look at my cool bomber jacket. Don't I look awesome?" You wouldn't say that, right? You let the other person acknowledge whatever's new going on. And if it's your hair loss, so be it. But again, it's a matter of acknowledging it only after they bring it up, for negative or positive or neutral. And at that point, owning it and even exaggerating it to that point, just to show that, hey, I understand what's going on here and I'm confident in that. Because that's what the world needs to see. It needs to see guys that acknowledge their hair loss and are okay with it and confident with it and moving on. It's the people who are freaking out about it and showing that that's what the world doesn't need to see. So it's tricky when we talk about our hair loss with the outside world. And I think these 3 steps sort of help us navigate that better. So again, you don't talk about your hair loss unless someone else brings it up first. When they do, you completely own it and even kind of exaggerate it a little bit, kind of with a smile, just to show that, hey, you're confident in that. So I think that's a good guide to go by. But pick that apart. If you can find something wrong with it, inconsistent about it, let me know, because I'm here to learn. And I'm also here to get snow in my hair.